faithfully delivering value and interpreting great books from around the world. Hi, this is Sally with the Book Talk. Today, we're interpreting the book called Understanding Media for you. Understanding Media is an extraordinary academic work, and it's not overstating to call it one of the 20th century's most influential books. This book was published in 1964, and its author is Marshall. Before that, McLuhan was just an ordinary English literature teacher at the University of Toronto in Canada with no real fame. But after the book's publication, McLuhan's name spread rapidly throughout the Western cultural world, sparking a craze. In the next 2 or 3 years, McLuhan's articles were printed in dozens of America's most famous newspapers and magazines. His speeches also appeared on several of America's most influential TV stations. The book's content also sparked huge controversy in the Western cultural world during the mid to late 1960s. In this book, McLuhan greatly expanded the concept of media. He not only viewed all human activities and their outcomes, like clocks, phones, cars, as media, but also tried to understand human civilization's development from a media perspective, seeing media as the deep driver of progress. McLuhan's view was not only groundbreaking at the time, but also laid the philosophical foundation for communication studies in the following decades. This won all Pell. Scholars who praised the book called McLuhan the fourth epoch-making thinker after Newton, Freud, and Einstein, the spokesperson for the electronic age and prophet of revolutionary ideas. Those who criticized the book called McLuhan a TV charlatan, a mad wizard, an attacker, a tyrant of reason, and so on, because they felt understanding media was way too far from basic academic writing norms. At first glance, the book seems ambiguous in expression, casual in arguments, loose in structure, rambling with pretentious epigrams, yet often lacking any derivation. For a single point, McLuhan might touch on it briefly in one section and again in another, making it read with very poor logic. Therefore, in many scholars' eyes, understanding media simply can't be considered a rigorous academic work, but more like a collection of cultural essays, sparking the first wave of craze in history. By the late 1960s and early 1970s, it gradually cooled down. But by the mid to late 1990s, with the global spread of internet tech, people rediscovered the value of this book, Understanding Media. Many concepts and judgments mentioned in the media, like the global village, retribalization, and the medium is the extension of man, these showed huge prophetic power, perfectly explaining the social and cultural logic of the internet era. So, understanding media sparked a second wave of craze, and this time it reached China too. For instance, Kevin Kelly, the founding editor of Wired magazine and a famous American writer, thinks McLuhan's insights are downright mind-blowing. All the lists, Pony Ma, the founder of Tencent, also said McLuhan's views had a big impact on him, since Understanding Media is a thick book, nearly 600 pages, with scattered thoughts and complex content. To make it easier, we'll distill the book's core ideas into 4 points. Media is everywhere. The medium is the message, and the medium is the extension of man. To understand society, understanding media development is key. First, let's talk about the core concept. Media is everywhere. What he means is that all technological things in the world can be seen as media. In McLuhan's words, there's nothing outside the medium. This view is exactly where McLuhan's theory is groundbreaking. Because before McLuhan, people's understanding of media was mostly limited to so-called mass media. For example, things like newspapers, radio, and TV that are specifically for spreading info. McLuhan, though, boldly viewed all human tech as media. Not just roads, cars, planes, cannons are media, but also light bulbs, fridges, washing machines, typewriters, and even clothes, houses, money, clocks are media. In short, everything created by humans with some tech aspect is all media. Why did McLuhan expand the definition of media so much? The reason is his goal for writing this book. He wanted to explore how tech and human civilization relate. seeing how tech changes drive civilizational progress. And in his view, all tech fundamentally serves as media, creating better collaboration methods and environments between different people and groups. Therefore, technology is the medium. Only by discussing technology through the lens of media can we grasp its cultural essence. For example, money is a crucial technological product with media properties. The emergence of money fundamentally changed how people exchange the fruits of their labor. Before money, people could only barter or exchange labor. I help you build a house, you help me herd sheep, or I trade a cart of rice for your cart of corn. The problem with direct exchange is mismatched needs between parties. Money allows quantifying labor and its outcomes, enabling indirect exchange through this medium, greatly boosting efficiency. Thus, money is the medium between people and various labor outcomes. The clocks we use daily mediate between humans and modern time. Before mechanical clocks, humans perceived time holistically, never precisely segmenting schedules. After mechanical clocks were invented, time perception became increasingly refined. We gradually adapted to segmenting time by the clock, precisely organizing production and daily life. Supported by clocks, modern industry precisely calculates labor time and coordinates long-distance collaboration. Therefore, modern society operates by using clocks as metrics to build efficient, precise collaborative relationships. Moreover, following McLuhan's logic, modern transportation like cars, trains, and planes should also be seen as media. These vehicles enable frequent exchanges between cities and nations, creating better collaboration methods and environments, mediating between humans and distant worlds. That concludes the first core idea from understanding media. Media is everywhere. Before McLuhan, people typically viewed technology merely as tools, but McLuhan revealed that technology isn't just tools. It's civilization itself, the deep driver of human progress. He vividly described the relationship between technological development and human civilization evolution using the term medium, offering us a new perspective on human progress. And next, let's discuss the second core idea in understanding media. The medium is the message. This primarily has two layers of meaning. The first layer means that all media and technologies primarily influence society through their form, not their content. In other words, the content of the medium isn't important. The medium itself is what matters most. This perspective might challenge our common sense. We usually believe a book's content is most important. Whether printed on paper or as an audiobook, it's what's said that counts. Similarly, whether you get news from a newspaper or phone doesn't matter. The news content itself is key. But McLuhan argued that technologies like printed books, broadcast TV, computers, and smartphones matter more than their content, because entire human production and lifestyles evolve around these technologies. Note that McLuhan focused not on individual media effects. People react differently to technologies. For instance, even after TV became widespread, some still prefer radio.
And in this computer and phone reading era, some still enjoy physical books.
McLuhan examined not individual differences, but how media technologies impact human civilization's entire course. So how did McLuhan develop this argument? He gave the light bulb example. In darkness, when lit, a perceivable world instantly appears. Conversely, when turned off, that world vanishes immediately. Thus, for society, the light bulb is the medium piercing darkness, enabling reorganization of nighttime life. Therefore, its technologically determined lighting capability is crucial, while what it illuminates is secondary. Similarly, past information dissemination methods shaped historical lifestyles. For example, oral communication, humanity's earliest method, relied entirely on hearing. One person speaks while one or many listen. During information dissemination, the speaker and audience must occupy the same physical space. This characteristic of oral communication determined that human cultural life was organized tribally, requiring information sharing within small, often blood-related groups with minimal privacy. After the advent of writing, humanity gradually entered the era of handwritten communication. McLuhan believed handwritten communication modes. McLuhan believed handwritten communication relies on visual reading, which can be done individually, breaking oral communication's spatiotemporal constraints. People could read separately without gathering. This fostered privacy concepts, making cultural life increasingly independent, shifting from tribe-based to individual-based organization, demonstrating media's profound cultural impact. Additionally, in oral dominant eras, listeners needed immediate responses, unlike in handwritten communication eras. Readers could delay responses, expressing thoughts later or not at all. Thus, as society transitioned from oral to handwritten communication, emotions grew more reserved and controlled. People learned emotional distance from external events, another profound cultural impact of media itself. Since this influence permeates every aspect of human life, it surpasses media content in importance. That concludes the first layer of the medium is the message. Content is unimportant. The medium itself is paramount. Now, the second layer, any media technology gradually creates an entirely new environment during adoption. In other words, our era's entire environment is media created. For example, viewing cars as media, their adoption created highways, repair shops, gas stations, parking lots, auto malls, drive-ins, motels, etc. Similarly, landline phones as media created their own ecosystem during adoption. Our homes, workplaces, and public institutions all have telephones installed, with cities establishing directory assistance, public phone booths, and yellow pages systems. The best example is undoubtedly mobile internet technology. Less than 10 years ago, we needed desktop computers to handle online tasks. But now we can reply to emails while waiting for the bus, or order takeout on our way home from work. Plus, mobile and facial recognition payments have replaced cash and credit cards in most retail settings. In short, nearly all our work and daily life revolves around mobile internet technology today. This technology has reshaped the everyday environment of Chinese society. Though McLuhan never witnessed mobile internet's rise, his theory remains profoundly relevant. That covers understanding media's second core idea. The medium is the message, which has two key aspects. First, content is unimportant. The medium itself matters most. Because media's technological nature reflects the defining characteristics of human civilization's developmental stages. Second, any media technology gradually creates an entirely new environment during adoption. Media shapes an era's entire ecosystem. Now let's discuss the book's third core concept. Media are extensions of man, McLuhan's most influential idea. He argued all technology extends human physical or mental capabilities. In other words, all new tech essentially enhances sensory perception or cognitive abilities. McLuhan said clothing extends our skin, housing extends our temperature regulation. Horses, bicycles, and cars extend our legs and feet. Even cities and nations extend the human body. Like external skin protecting organs, they safeguard their inhabitants. And the book specifically discusses television. While many see it as visual extension since we watch with eyes, but McLuhan argued TV extends far beyond vision. It profoundly extends touch, hearing, even our entire nervous system. Thus, television reintegrates humanity's long, fragmented sensory systems into interconnected, interacting states. How did this long-term fragmentation emerge? As mentioned earlier, in the oral communication era, people primarily relied on hearing to receive information. In the handwritten communication era, people mainly depended on vision to read information. After the handwritten era came the print communication era. Though printing expanded reading materials, people still relied solely on vision. Thus, during the print era, information reception remained passive, restrained, and rigid. Maintaining distance from reality, this state became increasingly widespread as print proliferated. Habitual single-sense information reception led to habitual single-perspective thinking. The print era coincided with mass machine production. Even printing presses were large machines relying on divided labor. Each person had fixed roles like cogs and components in a machine. Over time, this work style further deepened fragmentation. Television's emergence, however, reintegrated human senses, mobilizing them collectively, because television creates an immersive, on-site illusion. Moreover, TV audiences actively participate in the communication process. Take the live TV broadcast of Kennedy's funeral as an example. McLuhan believed TV enabled nationwide participation in this significant ceremony, conveying its power in ways print couldn't match. Of course, TV's overwhelming information excessively extends viewers' nervous systems, causing anxiety. Murder news frightens, war reports panic, lavish lifestyle shows breed envy, all media era-specific anxieties. Overall, McLuhan remained highly optimistic about the electric media era, dominated by telegraphs, telephones, radio, and television. He believed electric media's full development would unify individual sensory systems and foster global interdependence, dissolving barriers to ultimately create a global village. And moreover, the electric media era places new demands on individuals themselves. As mentioned earlier, the print media era required assembly line workers who functioned like cogs in a machine, whereas the electric media era's production is open, flexible, dynamic, and creatively collaborative, demanding more proactive and engaged workers. In the past, most people could rely on one skill throughout their careers, but in the electric media era, people must continuously learn new knowledge and skills to keep pace. Here, McLuhan actually builds upon media are extensions of man. This concept further explores how media extend human capabilities. He recognized media not only satisfies but elevates humans, and McLuhan envisioned future-oriented education concepts. He believed print-era education was constrained by fragmented thinking, but in the interconnected electric era, we must integrate humanities and sciences, freeing learners from over-specialized education. This view remains profoundly insightful even today. Unfortunately, our current higher education still falls short of McLuhan's vision. That concludes Understanding Media's third core idea: media are extensions of man, meaning all technology extends human physical or mental functions. Finally, let's discuss the book's fourth core concept. Understanding media development means understanding societal transformation. Actually, McLuhan never explicitly stated this in Understanding Media, but its spirit permeates every chapter. Because McLuhan viewed media and technology as civilization's fundamental drivers. Thus, understanding media means understanding why human society progresses. According to McLuhan, media development profoundly alters cultural lifestyles, thereby reshaping social structures. As previously discussed, oral communications centered cultural life around tribes. After entering the handwritten era, cultural life increasingly became individual-based. Later, human society gradually transitioned from the handwritten communication era to the print communication era. McLuhan pointed out that the spread of modern mechanical printing gradually democratized European society because it slashed production costs for books and newspapers, so info flowed more from nobles to common folks, boosting democratization in knowledge, education, and political rights awareness. Moreover, the promotion of mechanical printing was key to forming modern European national identity. Take France as an example. Before mechanical printing took off, different villages and towns had their own folk tales and knowledge systems. It was super hard to unify all that scattered info. I mean, why is that a problem? Where, after mechanical printing gear showed up, tons of identical printed stuff got churned out and spread across France. Thus, a unified knowledge system for all of France slowly built up, and a shared national concept formed. So, McLuhan kept stressing that the print era was all about national unity and centralization, shaped by printing tech's own uniformity and focus. And this nationalist mindset aimed at protecting national interests was a root cause of both world wars. After the print era came the electric communication era, which kind of shattered nationalist thinking, because whether it's radio or TV, they sped up global info flow, smashing nation-state boundaries. The Earth gradually became a village. Note that in this global village, not everyone shares the same views or hobbies. Instead, small groups with different interests are forming. McLuhan called this trend retribalization or retribalization. The logic here is super similar to online interest-based communities popping up lately. Stu means interest, the screwed means affinity or connection. Groups on Duan like cat lovers, trash picking as art, beauty gurus, and German literature all fall into interest-based communities. People find others with similar hobbies online and form communities. These interest-based communities interact more frequently, wield growing social influence, and have gradually become a new form of social connection. Here we see that although McLuhan passed away before the internet era, his analysis of electric communication foreshadowed its cultural characteristics. That concludes the fourth core idea from understanding media. Understanding media means understanding societal transformation. This concept means media and technology provide civilization's fundamental driving force. Thus, understanding media is the key to understanding human societal progress. Now, that wraps up our interpretation of understanding media's main content. McLuhan viewed all human practices and achievements as media, examining them through civilization's grand lens. This perspective wasn't just groundbreaking half a century ago. McLuhan's insights show remarkable prophetic power today. For instance, when TV was new, McLuhan proposed media extend humans, viewing television as central nervous system extension. In our mobile internet era, smartphones increasingly function like external brains, managing everything from shopping to identity verification. Without them, we're paralyzed. I think many media scholars and practitioners value understanding media for its imaginative leaps, bold foresight, and broad cultural analysis. Of course, as a half-century-old book, some content in understanding media is outdated. For example, McLuhan emphasized TV's low intensity, low resolution images, different from film, since multiple faces appeared as blurry blobs on 1960s screens. This greatly constrained television's information expression. But today, these technical limitations have long been overcome. Modern TVs deliver high-definition images and even provide audio-visual experiences beyond everyday reality. Besides, McLuhan really stressed how media and tech push human civilization forward, which rubbed many scholars the wrong way. They accused him of pushing tech determinism and squashing human spirit. But McLuhan didn't ignore human agency. He just looked at civilization's development through a tech lens. We humans can actively think to steer media's power and society's direction. All right, that wraps up our take on understanding media. Reading notes are below the audio. See you next time.